Welcome to the gym. Today's workout, we're going to talk about breaking foods hold over you. You'll start to notice that we're recycling some of the slides because we are in a different place every time we meet. So these slides will have different meanings for you, and they are great concepts to continue to put in front of yourself and consider as we create new habits and new identity. Often, the foundation of our eating pattern stems from unhealthy relationships with certain types of food. Sometimes they stem from childhood things or from trauma, but today we're going to talk about the kind that stems from certain types of food. These types of foods are created to be addicting. Now, the addiction part can be any food, but there are certain foods that are highly processed that are created to be addicting. They're fat, sugar, and salt, and they're intentionally engineered to be addicting by playing off of what is called our bliss point, which is the combination of all three that are mixed in such a way that we just love them and find them almost irresistible. They do a lot of studies, a lot of group testing to make sure they get that bliss point just right so that we will become addicted as quickly as possible. This bliss point sets off our dopamine brain and we want more of it, and it's very hard to stop these foods. These processed foods trigger leptin resistance. Leptin is a chemical that our body makes when we've had enough to eat, and our cells absorb it and our brain gets the message that we're full. So if our cells don't take enough leptin in, we can overeat, or we can know when we're supposed to finish but still feel hungry. We want to talk about these danger foods. And again, we're talking about highly processed foods right now, but this also applies to any food that we find addicting. These descriptions are taken from the DSM under the addiction section. And just like alcohol or drugs have addictions over us, food does the same thing. So the symptoms are very similar. I've adapted this to look at it the way we look at food rather than substances. So do you end up eating more than you planned when you started eating the danger foods? Do you keep eating the danger foods even if you're not hungry anymore? Even to the point of making yourself sick? Can you find it difficult to imagine that you can live without ever eating that danger food again? Or when you have a craving, you go out of your way to satisfy it with that danger food? You sometimes choose this food over working or spending time with your family or recreational activities? Do you tend to avoid professional or social situations because it's uncomfortable to eat in front of others? Do you have problems functioning effectively at your job or school because you're obsessed with the next time you're going to get to eat? Do you find that eating sometimes, especially these danger foods, causes depression, anxiety, self-hate, or guilt? And that you need to eat more of the food to reduce those negative emotions or get positive ones, and that eating the same amount doesn't do it for you like it used to? Have you found that when you cut down on certain foods, you experience either physical or emotional withdrawal symptoms like headache or anxiety? If that's the case, these danger foods do have some kind of hold over you. So what can we do to take control? First thing is to create a safe environment for yourself. Make sure that your trigger foods aren't there. If somebody brings them in, get rid of them. Make sure that you get your protein in first and get the number of grams that are recommended for your type of surgery. Take your supplements. That actually helps cravings. Make sure you get enough water. And a big one is to pre-track ahead of time. Write down the foods you're going to have that day and then follow that plan, including the water. Make sure that you've got regular times to eat and to exercise, and savor every bite. Eat very mindfully. And then it also works to feed yourself with your non-dominant hand. This slows you down because that non-dominant hand doesn't feed you as fast. It also interrupts the relationship between your mouth and your hand. And it causes you to just sit back and take a little longer to eat, which is a good thing. The second thing you can do is to use the resources that you have and build the resources that you need. So it's important to discover what food does for you and find alternative ways to meet those needs. If it's there to comfort you, find another way to feel comforted. If it's there to give you something for your boredom, find a different way to relieve the boredom. If you have a strong craving, locate that craving in your body and then ask yourself, okay, how old do I feel with this craving? And if you feel younger than the age that you are currently, ask yourself, what was going on back then for me? And see if there's an emotional relationship between eating and what was going on back there. And if there was, as the adult, comfort your younger self. Explain to your younger self that you don't need food to comfort yourself, that they're worthy, that they're smart, that they're enough, and they're enough without the food. Make sure that you manage your stress through journaling, support systems, meditation, yoga, exercise, all the good stuff that you know how to do, and make sure that you get enough sleep. That's a big cornerstone to this. So for your reflection workout, for your gym workout today, get out your bariatric journal and write down which foods are your danger foods, and then stay away from them. Or if you're going to be around them, be very, very careful, very controlled with that situation. And then ask yourself, okay, well, what is my plan for managing them? I could avoid entirely. I could abstain entirely. I could control my consumption. I could make sure that I'm eating that food only with others present, or I could do something else. Make sure that you have a plan. And look at the previous 2 slides and look at some ideas there that might help you feel that control over food, or come up with one of your own. But the idea is to start small, and don't try to do your whole eating situation right now, but start small, get control over that food little by little, and it will happen. It will come back. For example, before I had bariatric surgery, I loved this certain kind of donut. I loved it so much. And I loved it from this one donut shop. They made it just the right way. And I could go in and I could have, 3 or 4 a day. I didn't, but I could have, because I just loved it so much. So when I got the opportunity, I would always go there. And of course, this was not going to be sustainable for healthy weight loss surgery. So I thought about abstaining, and I thought, no, eventually I think I can get on top of my donut addiction. So I avoided it for a while. I think I avoided it for 2 years until I felt much stronger than I did in the beginning. So when I went, and I still do this, I do it once a month. I buy 1 donut and I pull off about 1/4 of the donut and set it aside. And then I take the rest of it and put it in the bag, and I squish the bag up so the donut gets entirely squished into the bag so that it's not a temptation for me to go in and eat. And then I take my 1/4 of a donut and I savor it. And it feels good. I love my donut. It feels really good to eat that donut. But it even feels better that I feel like I have control over the donut just by being able to limit it to 1. And I don't feel like I'm limiting myself. I don't feel like I'm depriving myself, because I'm certainly getting the satisfaction. But I get the even bigger satisfaction of feeling like I'm in control of the situation and not the situation is in control of me. So good luck with this workout. Have fun with it. Play with it a little bit. Experiment and see where you can go with it, and come back to it and review it over and over again.